Today is December 17th. I haven't been on here in a couple of months. I think my last video was in October, and a lot of you guys know that it's because I've been dealing with multiple different health issues. And at one point it was just getting to be too much physical pain and struggling that it was like carrying over to and beginning to affect me mentally and emotionally, because there's only so much physical pain that you can cope with before you start. I felt like I was going to go insane. Like I literally just could not cope anymore. And I said, Lord, I can't do it anymore. I just would rather die. I just can't. Literally every minute of my life was just a complete struggle, physically, mentally, emotionally. It was just too much. And I said, Lord, I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. The doctors, either they never know what's going on with me, or medications that I'm given, my body just rejects it and just spurs off new problems. And everything started like 9 years ago when my body was going haywire and I had my gallbladder removed, and that just made my digestive issues way worse. I wish I would have never had it removed. I wish I just would have done a cleanse or fasted or something, but I didn't know. I didn't know anything back then. So that just kind of kicked off all of my digestive issues. And they say that like 2% or 0.2% of people that have their gallbladders removed, just their bodies kind of just forget how to digest food on their own, and it spurs off all these other health issues. And I am always the lucky one to have those 0% of people for whatever, including like medications. My body just will not accept medications. I feel like I'm dying no matter what. Like I can hardly even tolerate Tylenol. Anyway, so I was just physically struggling so much that the mental part of it was like making me insane. And I was just getting depressed. And it was just too much. And YouTube was like the farthest thing from my mind. I just didn't want to add any stress. But I just wanted to thank you guys for everybody that's been praying with me and for me. And for, I get a lot of comments and emails and things from you guys saying things like, you know, you need to pray this or pray that or rebuke it. Or you guys, for 9 years, if there's a prayer in the Bible, if there's a scripture, I've done it, I've said it. I've claimed it, I've prayed it, I've been to the church, I've been to the pastor, I've rebuked it, I've fasted, I've everything. I've done it all. It's just, as far as the digestive issues, a physical part of my body was removed, and I can't do anything about it. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes a simple prayer just doesn't do it. Sometimes a simple prayer will do it for some people. It just kind of depends. And I've done it all. There's nothing you could tell me that I haven't done or tried or prayed. And I have had the faith of a child through all of it, sometimes to the point of just looking like a complete fool. I will make a complete fool out of myself. Like, for one of the issues, I just, like, ran up to the altar at church and had the pastor pray over me and everything, and it just, I don't know why it just doesn't, I don't know. And I can't even I don't want to talk about all the health stuff because I start to get extremely, like my chest is getting tight. I get really depressed talking about it because I'm frustrated. Because I just hear people say, well, you got to do this, you have to rebuke it. And I'm like, I've done that, I've done this, I've done it all. And the only thing I can do at this point is to continue without ceasing to pray and ask the Lord to heal me. And then, yeah, it's been a lot, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just kind of wanted to preface this video by just kind of explaining where I've been. I've not been ignoring anybody, or I haven't like left YouTube or anything. It's just been, I've been in a really bad place physically, and then it just got really bad mentally and emotionally to where I just didn't want to do anything anymore. And I'm still on the mend, and I'm very tired and exhausted, and I'm still healing from this other issue with my gums. So anyway, I have some things to share. I didn't even want to do this video, I'm just going to try my best to get through it. I get very like tired and weak, and I just kind of have to take a breath sometimes or take a drink or something, so please bear with me. But I feel like these dreams that God's been giving me lately, I feel like he's saying the time is now to share them. Okay, the first thing I want to share is a dream that I had 2 days ago, and basically I think what was going on was martial law. So I was in this place. It was kind of like a stadium, or kind of felt like an outdoor like schoolyard. I don't know. It was like surrounded by bleachers. We were just in this place where it was like bleachers all around. The bleachers were black. The whole feel of this dream was dark, and it felt like a prison. And I believe it was martial law that was going on, but it was different because whatever this stadium or school, I don't know. I think it was just symbolic of the world. It felt like a prison. This earth is a hellhole prison. So me and like hundreds of other people that were in this place, it was like we were getting ready to, I think we were getting ready to watch a movie on like a projector screen. So you know how like when you're outside, because this area was, I believe it was outside, it was kind of like how you see at like a drive-in theater. It's just where they use the projector screen onto like a blank wall. So me and just all these people were going to watch a movie. So it was interesting because even though it was martial law, I guess that's what it was, I'm just going to call it that, we had like some freedom, but only kind of. Everything was very, like we could kind of do what we wanted, but it was very limited. Everything was very controlled and structured, and at the bottom of every section of bleachers was a military guard, and they were like dressed in black, and they were armed with guns and combat boots, and they were just like standing at the bottom of each section of bleachers, just guarding and just surveying everybody and keeping an eye on people. I could feel in the dream the guards, the military men, I could feel and sense their thoughts, their emotions. I could just pick up on what they were thinking, and I do that sometimes in dreams. It's like God just wants you to know what's going on. So I could sense that they were thinking like there was only so far that they could go with the martial law and the militantness of it. They wanted to push further with it. They wanted to be more controlling. They wanted to be more like dictator-like and more evil, basically. But they knew that there was only so far they could push. They couldn't go past like certain boundaries. Like I said, they could let us do what we wanted, like watch the movie or whatever. Like people were still getting seated in the bleachers, and just like, I don't know if there were like concession stands or whatever. People were just getting prepared for this movie and just to kind of, enjoy the movie or whatever. So they were allowing us to do that, but it was very like on their terms, and it was very controlled and structured, like I said. And I could sense that they wanted to go further with it, but it was like, I could sense God. It was like somehow I could feel God above, like in the heavens. And he was like giving sort of a grace period, like a space of freedoms that we could still have, although it was controlled. And it was like the guards knew that. Like God was allowing only so much, and they couldn't push that. But it did feel like a prison, because it was like, you could do what you want, but not really. And then I think that was all of that dream. I know a lot of people are saying, I was talking to my husband about it last night, and he said that like Trump basically could declare martial law for something regarding, to be honest, you guys, I have not been keeping up with the news these past like 3 weeks. It's just been too much, on top of all the health struggles and mental, like I've been realizing that I've been getting depressed lately. The news is just a no-no for me right now. I try to just quickly scroll through YouTube, get like the main like titles of what's going on, and that's just got to be enough for me. I can't be in that mental space of, oh my God, what's going on, doom and gloom and all this stuff like crushing in on me. It's just, I can't do that right now. And I'm trusting the Lord. If he wants me to be aware of something that's going on, then he'll do it. So I haven't really been paying attention too much to the election stuff and what's going on with Trump and all that, the virus stuff and all that kind of thing. But my husband said somehow, I guess by the end of the week or whatever, Trump could declare martial law for something. I don't even remember exactly what he said, because it's like when I start to hear the news and everything, it's just like my brain, it's like too much trauma, and it's just like I black out of it. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I just can't. It's too much. I can't hear any bad news right now. So I don't really know what's going on, but and I don't know if that's going to happen, because that's what was going on in this dream. It was like there was martial law, but it wasn't like full crackdown, new world order type stuff. However, in the dream, when I could feel those thoughts from the guards that they wanted to do a little, like they wanted to be like super militant about it. I knew in the dream, it was like the dream God just made me know that what was going on at that point was very like close. It was like right prior to the rapture happening. I knew that Jesus was about to come very soon. And I knew, it's like the dream just said that after Jesus took us away, that's when they would be allowed to go full force with it and just be like complete hell on earth, like full on new world order prison type stuff, where like you can have those freedoms to do what you wanted. It was going to be like very controlled and systematic, and just all the things that God has been showing his people over these past, like, I don't know, 10 years or so, I think it's been now, that he's really been warning and waking us up to what's coming. But I knew in the dream, I was like, this is how it is now, but Jesus is just getting ready to come back, and after he takes us out of here, that's when they were going to be allowed to go to push past those boundaries. So that was the first dream. I'm getting a little winded. The other dream was, I had a dream about a UFO. And in the dream, I was just driving down. I live in West Virginia, and I don't know if you guys have ever been here, but our roads, I live in the country, and our roads are like twisty and turny and like, real curvy and crazy windy roads. And that's just how it was in the dream, because that's where I live. So I was just driving along the country roads, twisting and turning around the mountains. My sister was driving behind me, and there was also traffic in front of me. And as we were driving around one of the turns, we just like stopped, because right there in front of us, just literally hovering over the treetop, was a UFO. It was a very stereotypical looking UFO, like you would see in a movie or documentary or whatever. Just a metallic saucer shape with like the lights on the edge. It was just hovering, like literally like right above the tree leaves. It was just hovering there, and everyone in their vehicles just stopped and looked up at it, and we were observing it, and it was observing us. And this exchange of just watching each other went on for like maybe a minute or less. And there was a word in the dream that was like swirling throughout my spirit, that I knew this word somehow, even though it didn't make sense and still doesn't make sense. Somehow I knew this word was tied to and connected to the UFO. And the word was airbrush. It was just like airbrush, remember this. And that was it. So when I woke up from that dream, I was like, what does airbrush have to do with a UFO? I still have no idea, but I've learned that whenever God gives me a word of knowledge like that, it doesn't always have to make sense right away. And I've learned to just stop. Just don't obsess over it. Just, do a little bit of research, pray on it, do what I can, leave it alone if nothing really comes to me after that. I've learned to just trust that in time, at the right time, it will make sense when it's supposed to. but I'm thinking like, airbrush. So I do portrait photography on the side, and like airbrushing and photography is just like, removing imperfections and things like that, because sometimes clients will ask me to, hey, can you airbrush my pimple or my child's bruise or cut or whatever. So I'm like, I can't connect that type of airbrush to a UFO. And then like I know you can do airbrushing and like painting like vehicles and things like that. I really don't know, but like I said, I've learned to just kind of let it go and not obsess about it too much, and just trust him to, it'll make sense in time. But if you guys kind of have any ideas on that, let me know. Um, and it really reminds me of a dream that I had when I was a teenager. I think I was like 16 or somewhere around like 1999 and 2001, somewhere around that time frame. I had the most realistic dream of my entire life. And I've shared before that I do not come from a Christian background. My family was not Christian. We never went to church. I wasn't raised in church. I didn't even go to church till I was, an adult. So I had no knowledge of the things of God. We didn't even go to church. We weren't even that family that only went to church on Easter or Christmas or whatever, whenever people go to church. We didn't even do that. Nothing. I had no foundation, no basis. So I wasn't saved. I didn't have a relationship with God. I had no knowledge of biblical prophecy or anything like that. Just looking back now, I realized that it was just the Lord was trying to, it was like his first attempts to try to wake me up. But I didn't get it. I was extremely naive, and I didn't know anything about God. But I had the most realistic dream of my life during that time, where there were just UFOs surrounding our house, my parents' house, and just like hovering around the house. And this dream was so real. It was like 50 times more real than me sitting here right now. It was so real that when I woke up, I felt like I had been sleeping on Pluto for 100 years. When I woke up, I was like, how many years have I been asleep? And I was like sweating, and it was so real that I literally woke up, I ran outside and was walking all around the house and looking up at the roof. I'm like, where are they? I know they're up there. They just showed me they're up there. I can't see them. Where are they at? Like, that's how real it was. And then not long before or after that, I can't remember because it's been so long. So like right after or before that, I had the second most realistic dream of my entire life, where I saw Jesus. In the dream, I was just standing there, and in front of me was a bridge, and at the other end of the bridge was Jesus. He was standing there with his arms outstretched. He had like a rainbow over his head, and there were souls. There were people crossing this bridge going to Jesus, and he was receiving them unto himself as his arms were open. And when I had that dream, I didn't know what to make of it, because like I said, I was extremely naive. I didn't know anything about God or Jesus or rapture or anything. Nothing. Nobody just ever explained that to me. The only kind of connection or knowledge that I had of Jesus was that my grandma had a Bible on her coffee table that was like it had illustrations in it, and from time to time I would just pick it up and look at the pictures, and that's it. That's all of the knowledge and all of the foundation I had until I was 28 years old. And I know it's hard for people to believe that there are people like that out there, because I think as Christians we kind of just assume that everybody surely knows the gospel. I do, so they must. Nobody ever explained it to me. I didn't know about sin or salvation. Nobody just ever, of all the people that I knew who, oh, I'm a Christian and I go to church, they never, I didn't get anything from it. So I try to be kind of, mindful of that now when I'm around people, to just kind of plant those seeds. And so anyway, the fact that this dream that I had about the UFO reminded me of that dream that I had all those years ago. The fact that the UFO dream and seeing that dream of Jesus and the people going to Jesus were very in close proximity of each other. I know he was trying to wake me up, but I'm wondering if he's giving me this dream now about this UFO, because if he isn't saying that we're that close, I think that's what he's saying, because I had the UFO dream and the Jesus dream right within, very close to each other. Now I'm like, I feel like what he's saying with that is that's how close we are, because we know God has just revealed to his people that when he takes his people out of this world, the world's excuse is going to be that it was alien abductions. And we can see that soft conditioning and soft disclosure in the media, all over commercials. When my husband comes home from work, he has the TV on all evening, and I kind of pick up secondhand all the commercials. There's like UFOs and aliens and little green men, and they know what they're doing. They're conditioning minds and consciences to accept the lie and the deceit that it was aliens. Aliens took the Christians away to get them out of here because they're so, they deserved it or whatever. So, and then, there's a lot going on in the media. Apparently, Trump's been talking about, I don't know, disclosing that aliens are real or something. I don't really know, because like I said, I just can't right now with the news. But, it's been going on for a while. So, yeah, dreaming about UFOs, and that's going to be their excuse. And then I wanted to mention another dream that I had that was very strange. So if you guys have been following me on here for some time, you know that after I was saved, the Lord himself just decided, it's just something he does with me, is he gives me dreams about the moon. It's the most common theme of things that he shows me is signs in the moon tied to the rapture. And he always gives me this dream that when the rapture is happening, that moment, like that day, people see two moons in the sky, whatever that is, whether it's literal symbolism, both, I really don't know. But that's why I changed my channel name, is because that I thought that was like something between the Lord and I that was very, personal. But come to find out, if you just type into YouTube rapture dream with two moons, there's hundreds of Christians having that dream. So that's where my channel name comes from. But anyway, this dream wasn't that. It was a moon dream, but it wasn't two moons. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. And it's really hard to drink with my gums. My face is really stiff still. So anyway, I drew a picture of this, and to be honest, I don't even know if it's going to help because it was such a strange dream. So I'm going to just verbally tell you the dream, and then I will show you the drawing that I did. So in this dream, I saw, if you can just envision like the whole body of the moon. So it started out, okay, so I saw the body of the moon, and it's hard to do this with one hand. So it started out that the top of the moon was lit up like in a crescent shape, a very thin crescent, just the top was lit up yellow. And then it would switch to where that wasn't lit up anymore. It would switch to the right side. It was now then lit up in a thin crescent on the right side, and then it switched to where it wasn't lit up there. It was only lit up like that with the crescent on the bottom, and then it went around to this side and then back up to the top. So every time that one side of the moon was lit up in the crescent, no other side of the moon was lit up, only that portion of it, if that makes sense. So it was here, and then the side, and then the bottom, and then the other side and back around. And it did that 4 times like a clock. It went 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, just like a clock. And here's the picture I drew of it, just to attempt to kind of explain. So like I said, it was always only just one side of the moon that was lit up. It wasn't all of them. And it went around like a clock 4 times. And so the Bible says that the moon, God created the moon, not just for light, but for signs, for seasons, for times, days, months, years. So it's like the moon is like a calendar, like a time marker. And so I was thinking on this dream, and I'm like, okay, so the moon was lit up in crescents, and it went around 4 times like a clock. So he's telling me 4 something, 4 increments of time. But what kind of time? 4 days, 4 years, 4 months? I don't know, and I don't know what for either. It didn't tell me. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about that. He didn't give me any sort of understanding with it, but I've never had a dream like that before. And then the only other things I wanted to mention was, it's crazy how many things that the Lord has given me over the years, that is like the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together now. And one of those things is, I think it was like 5 years ago at least, the Lord gave me a word of knowledge, and the word was guerrilla warfare. And at that time, that was Chinese to me. I had never used or heard that term in my life, ever. And that's usually how when he gives me a word of knowledge, he usually will give me a word that he knows that I'm not going to know, so that I know it's not for me, and he'll know that I'm going to research it and write it down and remember it. And then sometime later, I think it was in like 2018, I think, he gave me the word Rambo. And I had made a video about this. And I didn't know what Rambo was. My mom mentioned that she said that was the first movie that her and my dad ever saw in theaters. And I was like, okay. So Rambo is a movie. And when I was looking on Wikipedia, it said Rambo did basically guerrilla warfare. And when I saw that term guerrilla warfare, I knew God, like, it was making a connection. This was him all along trying to tell me something about this. But I couldn't quite fit things together back then. Now I can totally see where he's going with this. And what was the other thing? And then I think it was like 3 months ago, the Lord gave me the word civil war. I heard in my spirit, civil war. And many of you guys, many other Christians are having dreams of like fighting, like militia type groups, like small patriot groups. And hearing other people share their dreams about, small patriotic type groups of people, like militia groups going out and fighting and like civil war, I'm remembering, God was telling me these terms, guerrilla warfare and Rambo, things that connect to that, and now it makes sense. Sometimes God will just give you a word of knowledge that at that time it doesn't make sense, but I guess he just wants to see if you will hold on to it and follow up on it. So I don't know if this is going to be something that we're here to see. We've all known that the Lord has been showing us that civil war is coming somehow, and we can kind of really see it going on now in a way. But I just wanted to connect that dot finally. And then I think it was like last week. I can't remember who it was, so I apologize if it was you. But somebody in my subscriptions had a dream that I was listening to, and they said in the dream there was like a mad gorilla, like a gorilla just going crazy in the dream. And as soon as I heard that, I said, it reminded me of that like guerrilla warfare. But guerrilla, when I first heard the word in my spirit, guerrilla warfare, I'm like, what in the world? Like gorilla, like the animal? Gorilla, it turned out it's spelled Guerilla. And as soon as I heard this person's dream, like a week ago, about the gorilla, I was like, no, it's gorilla. Like, I was like, saying out loud, like that connection. Like, I feel like God is telling her about this guerrilla warfare. And you know, the longer I listened to the video, she did bring up that term. That's just a term I've never heard before. I don't know. I don't know why I had never heard of that before until God gave me that word. But I think all of these things are for now. I think he's giving us kind of a heads up of what's coming, and a lot of people are having the dreams about these small patriot groups having to go out and fight. And as I'm thinking of it, I wanted to share you guys, my husband had a dream. And that is basically saying pigs are flying, because my husband does not dream ever. I think in the 19-20 years that I've known him, he's told me that he's had a dream maybe like 4 times, maybe 5. He just does not dream. He's just one of those people, and I don't understand that, because I'm somebody that has a dream probably every single night. Sometimes I'll have 5 dreams within a night. I've just always been a dreamer, except before I was saved, it was nightmares every night. I would constantly have nightmares, probably because growing up we were allowed to watch horror movies, and we watched like the most evil, terrifying movies you could think of. And I still, to this day, sometimes I will still have those recurring dreams about like Chucky, just because, thanks Mom, she allowed us to sit in front of the TV and watch those things. But after I was saved, I just don't have nightmares like that anymore. I just don't. But I've always been somebody that dreams. I must have a very like hyperactive brain activity or something, but I don't know. I shouldn't say that. It's actually just a gift that God gave me. We all have different gifts. Anyway, so my husband does not ever have dreams, let alone dreams like this. I think usually if he has a dream, it's about his dad, because his dad passed away in like, I think 2007. But my husband woke up, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, I had a dream last night. And I was like, you had a dream? And he said in the dream he was in a church. And right there I was like, pay attention, because this is from God. If my husband has a dream, number 1. Number 2, if he has a dream where he's in a church, the Lord's trying to tell him something. So my husband was in a church, just kind of sitting in the pews or whatever, and he said all of a sudden this group of people bursted in the doors with gas cans, and it was like an attack on the church. And they went to the back of the church and were like, I guess, like, throwing the gasoline everywhere to, set the church ablaze or whatever. It was an attack on the church. And my husband said there was a man within the church that stood up and just kind of was like, hey, whatever. He was like rising up, speaking against it. And my husband said in the dream, he goes, I said, this is why I carry a gun. It is now time to start shooting. And then my husband said at the end of the dream, he ended up escaping the attack and getting out of there. He was saved. So my husband is a believer. He believes in Jesus as his savior and everything. He's just not like super into the prophetic and end times things. He believes it when I tell him. He's just, we're not all in the same place at the same time, but he's saved. So I knew when I heard that, he said, this is why I carry a gun, and it is now time to start shooting. It's time to start fighting. Tying that into everything I just shared with you, all the words and things that the Lord is showing people with guerrilla warfare and small militia groups and patriot groups and things like that, and Rambo. He's saying something here. So I don't know if this is something that we're going to be here to see or be a part of, or I don't know exactly how things are going to play out or what that's going to look like, but he's saying something with it. And then the last thing, I'm like out of breath. The last thing I want to share is, I think it was last year, the Lord kept putting in my spirit this word over and over, and I could not figure out I could hear the word, but I couldn't figure out like how to spell it or what the word actually was. Sorry, my mom, I was talking to my mom before this video. I'm like warning her about the mark of the beast and warning her about the what shot and So I'm just trying to make sure she's aware of everything, and I'm in like Mark of the Beast warn mode to people right now, because I feel like that's probably the most important thing we could be telling people right now, besides the fact that, hello, Jesus is obviously coming, time is short. So she's like, if you hear a noise, that's my mom messaging me on Messenger. So anyway, the Lord gave me this word before all of this stuff was going on, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I was like trying to type it into Google, but I didn't know how to spell it. I didn't know if it was one word or two words, and I just was getting frustrated with it. So I would give up, and I'm like, Lord, I'm trying, but I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what this word is. I've never heard it in my life. I don't know what to do with it. So I would give up. Hang on, I need another drink. So I would give up, and then like shortly after, it would come back to me. So I was like, Lord, I know you're trying to get my attention with this word, but I can't spell it. I'm coming up with nothing. Okay, so the word that I was getting all, before all this stuff was inoculation. Okay, so I know what it is now, but then I was thinking like oculation, like ocular. I was thinking he was referring something to do with the eyes, like vision, because like ocular things are like having to do with the eyes. I was just like going in circles trying to figure out what this word was, and I didn't know if it was all one word, inoculation, or like in space oculation. I'm like, I just don't know what to do with this. And like I said, I just would give up because I didn't know what to do, and it would just keep coming back. Well, I know what it means now, because it's all you hear about on the TV. And the first time that I heard them say that, I think I froze in my tracks. I was like, what does that word mean? I said that to my husband. I was like, what did they say? What does that word mean? And he said, inoculation. I was like, yes, what does that mean? And he told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, the Lord was warning me about this before it was even a thing. And to me, I'm like, there has to be a reason why. Like, I think it was a time marker. Like, when you start seeing this and hearing this, like, look up, because we're close. We can see how quickly things are snowballing, and they're really getting the ball rolling with the mark. So I wanted to say, finally, I know what the Lord was saying with that. I just think it's awesome how he does that. Like I said, with the word airbrush having to do with the UFO. Maybe it's not always for right now. I think he knew at that time I wasn't going to know what inoculation meant. Apparently it's a common term. I had never heard it before. Certainly never used it. And like I said, I was thinking like I envision terms. It's true when the Bible says that God uses the simple to confound the wise, because that's what he does with me. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I don't even care, you guys. So I just wanted to share that. I finally have the answer to inoculation that he told me way before all of this stuff. So that's all I'm going to share in this video. I'm just like exhausted right now. I have some other things that I do want to share, but I'll save it for another video, because I'm already at, oh my gosh, 38 minutes. That's crazy. This is going to take all day to upload. I apologize again that I haven't been on here. It's been really rough. And there have been days where I just would rather have just died. But I'm on the mend, I think, and I'm having a good day today, so I'll be back if he puts it on me to put anything else out there. But I think he really wanted me to share the UFO dream and the martial law thing more than anything, because it just will not leave me. So I hope you guys have a great day and a great Christmas if you celebrate. If you don't celebrate, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, month. I'm praying that Jesus comes during Christmas. It's funny, you guys, because all these years that I've been saved, I was saved Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve 2011, that's when I was saved. And all these years, I always asked Jesus, when are you coming, Lord? And it's like almost every time that I ask him that, he gives me a dream about Christmas, whether it's Christmas time or it's July. He will always give me dreams, rapture dreams. There's the 2 moons, and then there's rapture dreams with Christmas. And actually, there was one time, I think I shared this on my old channel, that I said, Lord, when are you coming? I just want to know when you're coming. He put a song in my spirit that I heard. I hadn't heard that song since I was a teenager, and the title of that song was called At Christmas. And I was like, okay. Every time I ask him when he's coming, he just gives me like Christmas symbolism. What is he trying to say about Christmas? What does Christmas mean to Jesus? Like, I never took him literal, and maybe it's not. But now I'm just kind of wondering, I could totally see it now. I'm like, should I be kicking myself thinking that he told me all along? Maybe not, I don't know. But I'm completely allowing myself to hold on to hope that he could come at Christmas. Anytime from now until Christmas. Why not? I've been through enough hell this year that I don't even care. I'm letting myself believe that it's possible, and maybe he was literally meaning at Christmas, because he didn't just show that to me. So many of you guys have had rapture dreams with Christmas decorations, Christmas presents, Christmas trees, Christmas. Maybe he was telling us all along. And if you think about it, what a message that would send to the world, because we have to remember that it's not exactly about us anymore, really. The Bible says, it's about the lost sheep. It's about those who are going to be left behind, who aren't already ready. And it has to, when we're out of here, has to be a message to them. It has to say something to them. And what message would it be to those left behind to realize that Jesus took his people out during Christmas? You know what I mean? And I know there's a lot of hatred about Christmas, and I get it from both sides. I love Christmas. I hate the commercializedness of it. I hate the Santa Clausness of it. I've been over this before. I don't judge anybody or condemn anybody that does or doesn't celebrate Christmas. I always say what the Bible says. That's between you and your conscience and the Lord. The Bible says, if anybody wants to celebrate any day above another, that's fine. Let them do it. Just, do it as unto the Lord, and it's fine. Don't judge anybody. So I don't judge anybody that does one way or the other. That's not my place. But I've just really been thinking a lot lately about, to me, that would be beautiful for Jesus to take us home. You hear that song everywhere now, I'll be home for Christmas. And I've just been wondering, just like in my own head, like, what if the Lord inspired that person to write that song for a reason? And, I don't know. I'm hoping that we're out of here anytime now. I could totally see it. So I think that's all I have for this video. Thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully I didn't, stutter too much, or, hopefully I spoke clearly enough. I'm still healing. I don't know when I'll be back, only if the Lord, pushes me to do something like he is right now, because I didn't even want to do this. So, all right, bye.